to part 8 of this series. In this lesson, we'll be talking about what while loops do. So, what are while loops? While loops are loops that continue until a statement is false. So, for example, if I were to set a variable equal to 5, and I say that while x is equal to 5, print, don't do this just yet because this is pretty dangerous for your computer because it will spam it. And I'll explain why. For example, if I were to say while x is equal to 5, print yay, what happens is this loop will continue to run until x is not equal to 5 anymore, which is never. So it will print yay forever. And if you're not careful enough, it can crash your system. So you need to be careful to kill the terminal almost immediately after you run it. For those reasons, I am not going to run it, but what would happen is you would just get a series of, look, something like this. Just comment it out. You'll get yay, and then yay, just on and on and on. So it will just be a spam of yay, and it will never end. So that can crash your system because your computer will continue to think about it, which you don't want to do. Now, something that's useful and what we can do with this is maybe we can say x plus equals 1. So every time it runs the code, it adds 1 to x, and later the statement won't be true anymore because x is no longer equal to 5. So let's run it and see what happens here. You get 1 yay. So what happens is it checks to see if x equals to 5, and if it is true, then it will add 1 to x, like we have learned in part 2, and then it will print yay. Then now since you have added 1 to x, x is now 6. So while x is equal to 5, which is not true anymore, and it won't continue, so it won't pass. But let's say, for example, you want something to continue, or you want it to continue in the loop, for example. Let's say you want an endless loop where you can decide where to break or continue. You might want to use while true. The statement will always be true, and it will continue endlessly. So while true, let's say if, let's go back and make a new variable. Let's make num is equal to 4 or something. If num is equal to 4, print yay. Else, and then if I tell it to break, then it will stop the code and it will make the while statement false. So using the break function, we have just prevented it from crashing. Now, if I were to run this code, it only works once because you're using the break function. So the break stops the while true, and if I wanted it to continue or go back to the beginning and start over, I would use the continue function. So this isn't really a function, it's just a statement that you can use in the while loop and the for loops. So it goes back to the beginning and it continues the process again. So in this case, it will say num is equal to 4, and while true, if num is equal to 4, then print and continue. So instead of going to the else statement, it will restart the while loop. And again, this will crash your system because you will get a series of yay, 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 continuously because num is always equal